South Africa has a rich and vibrant textile industry. In 2020, the sector employed 27,000 people, generating 22.4 billion rand in revenue. However, with exports at 12 billion rand and imports at 26 billion rand, there is space for South Africa to improve its local textile manufacturing capacity. My guest today is Theuns Botha. He's the CEO of Kingsday Textiles, and he's going to tell us how the sector is coping in these difficult economic times. Theuns, welcome to Business Edge. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you very much for the invitation. Good day to you and to your listeners.
All right, so let's talk about the business you run, which is one that is, you do a lot of business between yourself and Chinese manufacturers. You must rely very heavily on some of the products in terms of those coming out. In looking at the Mama Winnie commemorative blanket, we found out, of course, that that was entirely produced on what was imported into South Africa. So in terms of the war between Russia and Ukraine and how this has disrupted global supply chains, what's the impact that it's had on your business?
I must admit the audio is not very good. I cannot hear you clearly, and I might miss something in your question.
So I just really want to get an idea of how the Russia-Ukraine war has impacted your business in terms of the supply chain disruptions.
Not really at all. I mean, obviously, Russia is very much part of BRICS, and South Africa has a very good relationship with Russia all along. The war situation hasn't really impacted supply chain issues to South Africa. All our imports are coming from China. So just the global situation that is currently affecting most supply chains is obviously also affecting us, but no real impact as far as the Russia-Ukraine war is concerned.
So when you talk about the fact that with most of your inputs coming from China, there's still the rising cost of production or inflation that's now a global concern. In terms of that getting back into your production, what has it been like?
There's certainly a huge impact as far as the production cost and the effect that the global situation has on the supply chain cost aspect. I hope that is the question that you are asking me. I mean, everything has just become incredibly expensive, but you know, there is something that we need to deal with. Obviously, I always say that all economics in the world has got the same fluctuations and the same graphs. So whatever goes up must come down, and whatever goes down must eventually comes up or goes up. So I think it's just a balancing act, and we are unfortunately in the midst of that particular economical cycle. So we just need to weather the storm and to ride it out. I think that things will stabilize in the long run again, back to normal. Even if you look at our current exchange rate in South Africa, yes, the rand is quite a bit weaker against the US dollar, but the rest of the supply chain cost aspects is pretty much the same as to where it was a couple of years back. I think it will level out eventually.
And so what you're telling us is basically that this textile industry you're in seems to be weathering the storm of the current economic realities. But let's talk about one storm that is a local storm for South Africa, and that's Eskom, the challenge of electricity with your business. How are you faring with that? Load shedding has in some cases reached stage 5 and stage 6 across the country. What's the impact of that on your business?
I mean, Eskom and load shedding and the electricity situation in South Africa is just devastating. We cannot attract foreign investment to South Africa with what is going on currently as far as our electricity supply situation is concerned. I think it is certainly forcing us to look inward, meaning that we have to become self-sustainable as industries. And that is what we are doing. it doesn't help us to sit back and keep on complaining and pointing fingers. Yes, it's a long-standing situation. It's a thing that that had to be addressed a very long time ago. But I think that with the challenges, obviously, also comes with new opportunities. We are not engaging ourselves in any particular project if we don't include in our costing and in our budgeting renewable energy or self-sustainable electricity supply, most predominantly solar. But as I said, we don't do any projections, we don't do any project whereas we don't include self-sufficient electricity supply. We just cannot rely on Eskom. Load shedding has got a huge effect on industry. You cannot have factories going offline or machines without electricity for 4 hours ongoing. It is just not acceptable. So yeah, it's a huge problem. I don't think that the situation is addressed very effectively at the moment, and I also think it's politicized. But let it be as it is. I still think that with it, it presents huge opportunity. You know, with any kind of setback, there's always an opportunity that arises.
Yes, an opportunity to be creative and innovative. Theuns, I have to apologize. Our time is it's fast spent now, but I do hope that you'll make a rain check. You'll give us a rain check to be back, because we want to talk about what South Africa's textile industry is doing that those across the continent can also learn from, employing thousands of people and bringing in money, and where the opportunities for the industry also lies. So I hope we'll get a rain check from you.
Thank you very much. And I really do appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. And we'll have to put a rain check on this conversation. But there are many, many other countries across the continent that can learn a thing or two about South Africa's textile industry and how it manages to employ over 27,000 people, adding to the country's GDP on a yearly basis. And of course, we'll have Botha back for that conversation. This is how we wrap things up on Business Edge today.